Choices by MesserMoon. Chapter 30. Chapter Notes. Trigger warning / content warning, sexual content. Pretty sure this is the same level as always, like very YA-ish, maybe a little more spicy, but not much. Trigger warning, implied sexual assault. French translations in the endnotes. Guys, I'm so bad at French. It's okay, it'll be fine. Part 1. James. James is pacing. It's the night before Christmas break, and he's peeled himself away from the revelries in the Gryffindor common room. They decided to throw a full-on party this year, and James tried to enjoy himself, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was crawling under his skin, making him itch, making his fingers drum and his feet tap, an impatient energy that wouldn't be still. He can't stop thinking about last Christmas, can't stop thinking about the way Regulus fell apart when he came back. And he knows it's stupid, because the summer was longer, and while Regulus was a little more distant when he came back, he was still in one piece. Nothing like the winter. But he'd been in Scotland then, and somehow that was different. Different than being trapped in that fucking house. James swears Grimmauld Place is cursed, and the idea that tomorrow Regulus will be going back there, it makes him sick. The door opens, and James stops his pacing. Regulus pausing as soon as their eyes meet. "Oh," he says, a little startled. "I didn't think you'd be here yet." James tries to get his nerves under control, tries to make sure his voice comes out casual. "I can leave and come back if you want." "No, you seem disappointed." He rolls his eyes. "James, I'm just saying, I'm perfectly fine to do a lap around the castle if you need to prepare yourself to be in my presence." "Oh, Jesus Christ. I just thought I would have time to wrap this, you absolute terror." James feels his brows draw together. Time to... He realizes that Regulus is holding something behind his back. He has to bite the inside of his cheek to keep his smile from getting too big. "Did you get me a present?" Regulus gives him a flat look. "Don't make this into a big thing." Oh, James is definitely going to make this into a big thing. "That's adorable." "Fuck you." "Oh my god, you were gonna wrap it and everything." James is practically bouncing on the balls of his feet. "Did you get me a bow?" "I honestly hate you so much." "No, I don't think so. You don't get Christmas gifts for people you hate." James's joy and teasing Regulus is momentarily derailed by a new distressing thought. "Oh shit, I didn't get you anything." "It's fine. I didn't really expect you to." Which James knows he says to make him feel better, but it actually makes him feel worse. Because shouldn't he have? I mean, shouldn't Regulus have expected his boyfriend of more than a year to get him a gift? Hold on. Boyfriend? Wait, was James his boyfriend? That seemed right. That was probably right, wasn't it? "James," Regulus says, pulling him out of his thoughts. "It's just a Christmas gift. Please stop freaking out about this." "I'm not freaking out," James says automatically. And then, "I'll give you yours after the break." Regulus rolls his eyes. "You really don't." But James holds up his hand. "It's going to be incredible. 100% worth the wait." "You're ridiculous." Regulus shakes his head. "True. Now," James rubs his hands together. "What did you get me?" There's just the smallest moment of hesitation. Regulus biting down on his lower lip like maybe he's going to try and take it back. But then he holds out his hand. There's a wooden box in his palm, a little bit wider and taller than a ring box. James arches his brow as he steps forward. "You proposing, Reg?" "You wish," the younger boy says, though James doesn't miss the way his cheeks go pink. He takes the box. It's a dark red wood with a brass clasp holding it closed. James runs his fingers over it for a minute like it's something precious, eventually popping open the clasp. At first, he thinks that maybe it's some kind of jewel, but when he looks closer... "Is this?" "Take it out." James looks up, and Reg nods toward the box, nervous. "Take it out," he says again, softly. James turns his attention back to the miniature quaffle, doing as Regulus asked and pulling it out of the box. The minute it's in his palm, it starts levitating. At first, James thinks that's all it's going to do, but then it starts moving around his head like a little wingless hummingbird. He catches it in his hand, laughing before looking back at Regulus, who still has his lower lip caught between his teeth. He shrugs, like James just asked him a question. "You're always playing with those bloody snitches, but you're a chaser, so I thought." He shrugs again. "Makes more sense, doesn't it?" James looks at him, and then back at the tiny vibrating ball in his hand. Reg, how did you do this?" Regulus tilts his head from side to side. "A bunch of boring charm work, really. The permanent shrinking charm was pretty easy, but then I had to look into exactly what magic they use to make snitches behave, well, snitchy, and modify it to work without wings." Regulus lets out a breath. That, admittedly, took some time, but I think... Reg, it worked out okay. It doesn't quite have the same abilities as a snitch has, but... Reg, it should still work for, messing around with. I'm almost positive the charms will hold. They're all permanent, but if they start to fade, just tell me and I'll... Regulus! James is standing right in front of him now, their toes touching. Regulus is still not meeting his eye, though he stopped his rambling, letting out a shaky exhale. James lets the silence continue until eventually Regulus speaks, voice very quiet. I don't know if that's a good gift. I don't really have anyone to give gifts to, especially not... He shakes his head, clearly irritated with his inability to explain himself. If you don't want it, I won't be offended, is what he settles on. Regulus, James says again softly. Look at me, please. After a second, the younger boy looks up, lips nearly brushing James's chin. I love it, James says, voice still quiet. Yeah? Yes. Okay. Regulus exhales, shoulders inching away from his ears. Okay, that's good. That's good. James keeps smiling. Can I kiss you now? Regulus nods his head so fast he almost headbutts James. Yeah. James brings his free hand to the back of Regulus's head, smiling as he moves the few inches to bring their mouths together. It's sweet and warm, Regulus opening up for him, his body fitting against James's in a way that feels comfortable, familiar. After a few minutes, James pulls away. This is the best gift I've ever gotten. Regulus rolls his eyes. Okay, laying it on a bit thick now. But James shakes his head, brushing their noses together. No, I mean it. I never could have thought of this. It's perfect. He kisses Regulus again, and this time it's Reg who breaks away. I don't know if you saw, he says, looking nervous again. James quirks his brow. Saw on the ball there's... But Reg appears to be back to not finishing his sentence, so James pulls away enough that he can inspect the ball still clutched in his hand. After a moment of turning it over with something gold catches his eye. It's engraved with a pair of linking letters, J and R. Oh, James exhales, seeing their names together like that makes so many things bubble up in his chest. Sorry, it might be a bit gauche. For some reason I just liked it, but it's easy enough to vanish if you don't. James just shakes his head again and then starts laughing when he realizes that there are tears in his eyes. Fuck, Reg, he says, almost reverently. He looks at their initials for a moment longer before he places the quaffle carefully back in its box and puts it on the coffee table next to him. Regulus starts, but James already has his hand wrapped in Regulus's shirt, pulling him close again, their mouths crashing together. It's messy and artless and wonderful. all teeth and tongues and Regulus's soft little gasps that make James want to howl. He pulls their bodies together, his hands in Regulus's hair, sliding down his back. He gets them under Regulus's thighs, lifting them up, his legs wrapping around James's waist. He's taller than him like this, and for a moment, they pause, James looking up into Regulus's gray eyes. "Thank you," he whispers. Regulus laughs, the sound sending a thrill through James's body. They felt so far away from each other recently, and this is like being able to breathe for the first time in weeks. "I want to give you everything, James." Reg is holding his face, thumbs brushing his cheeks. "Everything." And then they're kissing again. James trails his lips across Regulus's jaw, Reg tilting his head back, giving James more access to his neck. James can feel him swallow against his lips. They stumble toward the bed, James spilling Regulus onto the mattress. Almost as soon as James crawls over top of him, Regulus flips them, sitting up so that he straddles James's hips. His hands slide under James's shirt, pulling it over his head with James's help. "Reg," James says when Regulus starts trailing kisses across his chest, hands working at the buttons of his jeans. "Reg?" "Yes?" Regulus looks up, mouth hovering just above James's skin. Stare, intent. "It's a yes, James. Don't touch me, but just let me. Can I?" All broken sentences and flushed cheeks and heavy breathing. James nods. "Yeah. Yes. Fuck. Yes." The pair of them scramble to get his jeans off, a team effort, inelegant and clumsy. James catches fire under Regulus's hands, teeth dragging against his hip, kisses pressed to the inside of his thigh. It's not enough. It's too much. James's hand finds its way into Regulus's hair, careful not to pull. "Okay," is all he can get out, several other noises escaping before he's able to shut his mouth again. "Okay," Regulus murmurs against his stomach, causing James's muscles to jump. Regulus makes a meal of his whole body, kisses and bites and licks until James is a quivering mess. All keening noises and declarations of love cut off when Reg bites too deep, though he always apologizes with a kiss. Reg, I can't, I'm gonna..." And then, being the absolute monster that he is, Regulus takes him in his mouth and the world goes silent. James is nothing but boundless warmth and magic that sings. He wants to be here always. He wants to be wrapped up in this boy, this love. He wants to never be able to wash it off his skin or out of his mouth. He hopes Regulus has left marks, hopes he can see them in the morning. He'll wear them proudly, showing the day how they love in the dark. James gives Regulus' hair a small tug, a warning. Regulus's gray eyes flashing up, holding his gaze through his long lashes, like this is a challenge, like they're playing chicken on the Quidditch pitch. Fuck, James barely manages before it's all over, his whole body turning to jelly as he breathes hard, vaguely aware of Regulus pulling away from him. He makes a whining noise. "No, come here," he says, reaching out. Regulus snorts, allowing himself to be pulled forward against James's naked chest. James hums happily, kissing his hair and his temple, before eventually making his way down to his mouth. After a few seconds, Regulus rolls off again, and this time James doesn't whine, knowing Regulus well enough to understand that he needs space, needs to ground himself. James sits up only long enough to pull his boxers over his hips before collapsing back down. Regulus is beside him, both of them staring up at the painting above their heads that's become so familiar to James that it almost feels like seeing an old friend. He knows all the faces so well he wonders if he could paint them himself. Not that he's ever even held a Muggle paintbrush, mind you. After a while, Patroclus starts to look a little too much like Regulus, with his long black hair and pale skin, so James has to look away, chest aching. He turns to the actual boy next to him, fully dressed, with his hair a mess, lips swollen and red. He has his eyes closed. "You okay?" James asks. The corner of Regulus's mouth twitches up. "Yes, very." "Good." James tries to smile, but doesn't quite manage it. Not that it matters. Regulus's eyes are still closed. "You falling asleep?" "No, just..." James nods and then, "Yeah, okay." Because he does understand. At least, the way that he understands everything about Reg. Knowing what he needs, even if he doesn't always know why he needs it. James watches his chest rise and fall, listening to the sound of his breathing, trying to stay in that happy, boneless post-orgasm feeling, but it doesn't work. The longer the silence stretches on, the longer he looks at Regulus, so peaceful and happy, the more his thoughts from earlier grow louder, causing something that feels like a swarm of bees to fill up his stomach. Eventually, he inches his hand a little closer to Regs on the mattress, brushing their pinkies together. Regulus turns his hand up, and James takes it as the invitation that it is, slotting his hand inside, fitting their fingers together like puzzle pieces. He squeezes, and Regulus squeezes back. James knows he should let it go, knows they've had this conversation so many times, knows it always ends in a fight, but he can't, because he loves them. He loves him so much. "Reg?" he says softly, still holding tightly to his hand. Regulus turns his head, eyes blinking open. He smiles a little, sleepy and soft. It hurts. Why don't the stories ever tell you how much it hurts? Even when your heart isn't broken. Don't go. Regulus's expression instantly hardens. The shift so violent it makes James flinch. "Stop it. But Regulus is already pulling away, sitting up with his feet over the side of the bed and his back to James. "I'm tired of having this conversation." And he sounds it. James sits up too. "Don't go back there." "I have to." "You don't. You know you don't." "Christ, James, I told you. I told you what would happen if I tried to leave, if they found out about you. You think that won't happen if I follow you home for Christmas?" James wants desperately to reach out to him, to turn him around, but he doesn't. "I don't care." Regulus laughs coldly. "No, of course you don't." But James doesn't relent. "You think I didn't know that us wasn't dangerous? That this went beyond serious finding out? I still chose this. I still want this. I've accepted the risk." Regulus is gripping the mattress like he's about to fall off of it. "Fuck you. Fuck you right back. You could get hurt. Killed," Regulus goes on through clenched teeth. "I don't care. I care." The sincerity in his voice makes something in James's chest squirm. "It's sweet. It is, and yet..." "Stop making me your excuse, Reg," he sighs. "If you stay because you want, it's because you want to, not because you're protecting me." Silence. He can see the tension in Regulus's back, missing the lazy way he'd held himself before, the soft smile he'd given James when he'd opened his eyes, but this is important. "Don't go back there," he says again, when it's clear Regulus isn't going to speak. "I have to." James feels something like anger flicker through him, but he tries to push it down. "I'm not asking anymore, Regulus." It's startling how quickly Regulus's head snaps around at that, finally looking at James, his normally cold eyes burning. "Are you ordering me?" Regulus asks, voice sharp. James could laugh. "No, I'm begging. And oh God, does he ever sound like it. Please, Reg, please, I'm so fucking scared for you. I can't stand it. I'll take the Cruciatus curse over having to sit at home for 2 weeks knowing you're trapped in that house with those people." A series of emotions flicker across Regulus's face so quickly that James can't make any sense of them. "Those people are my family." But James shakes his head. Family doesn't hurt you. Regulus sighs again, pinching the bridge of his nose before he gets off the bed, pacing. "You don't have to be scared," he says finally, sounding significantly less angry and more like someone trying to placate a small child. "I'll be fine. That's bullshit, and you know it. I've always been fine." James nearly chokes, barely able to get the words out of his mouth. Surviving and being fine are not the same. But Regulus only waves a dismissive hand at him. "I'll be fine." It's getting harder and harder for James to keep the anger out of his voice. Will Lucius Malfoy be there? Regulus jolts to a stop so suddenly, James is worried he's hurt himself. When he looks at James, the older boy almost cowers. "Don't you dare throw that back in my face." James's heart sinks. "Throw? What? No, Reg, no, I'm not." Somehow, James finds himself on his feet too. You can't be safe in a place like that, with people like that. You can't be fine, not with him around. At the thought of Malfoy, James is always hit with the dueling urges to puke and punch someone. I mean, Jesus, I'm not fine for thinking about it. It's been gutting me for days, the idea of you having to be around him. I can't stand it. I don't know how you can. Regulus just stares back at him, and James can't read him, but he knows he's doing this all wrong. He just keeps hitting walls. Normally, he'd be patient. He'd wear them down, but he doesn't think they have time. In fact, he's almost positive they don't. "You feel so much," Regulus says eventually. James lets out a sad sort of laugh. "You noticed." Regulus just shakes his head, curls all out of sorts. James loves it. "I shouldn't have told you about Lucius." James feels the floor shift beneath his feet. No, please don't. Regulus, you should have. Of course you should have. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "It hurts you," he interrupts, James going silent. "I didn't want to hurt you." Reg. The name is barely a word. More an exhale as James collapses into the bed again. He rubs his hand over his face. "Everything that hurts you hurts me, but that doesn't mean I don't want to know about it." He makes sure that Regulus is looking at him. "I can handle it, Reg. I can handle all of it." Regulus gives him a look that clearly says, obviously you can't, but James ignores it. "I just want to protect you." Another long look before Regulus shakes his head. "You can't. I could if you let me. But then I wouldn't be able to protect you." The face James makes must be really pathetic because Regulus instantly steps forward, forgetting to be mad or frustrated or whatever else he is with James. He pulls him forward, and because James is still sitting, his face ends up somewhere around Regulus's stomach. He doesn't complain. "Hey," Regulus coos, face buried in James's hair. "I don't know what to do," James says pathetically. "I hate that you won't leave. Maybe that's not fair, but I do. Regulus only kisses the top of his head. I know. I hate that they hurt you. He doesn't expect Regulus to respond, really, but after a few minutes, he hears, maybe they won't this time. James wrinkles his nose, burying it further in Regulus's shirt. What do you mean? He shrugs. Maybe I'll fight back. James looks up at him then, gray eyes on his. Didn't you fight back before? Regulus shrugs, like it's no big deal. Never saw the point. James swallows with difficulty. And now? Regulus's hand slides up James's neck to cup his cheek, thumb brushing just under his eye. Now, there's you. They're quiet in the morning, whispering like they're back in their dorms. For a while, they just lay on their sides, facing one another, James with his hand on Regulus's arm, or side, or in his hair, always touching, afraid to let go. Eventually, they have to get up, though, still not speaking. What else is there to say? They've both made their stances clear, and James doesn't want to fight anymore. He pauses when they both get to the door, sighing and dropping his head onto Regulus's shoulder. Hey, the other boy says, hand making comforting circles on James's back. James can feel something like tears in the back of his throat, and he sure as hell isn't going to start crying right now, Merlin. So he doesn't say anything for a while. Not until he's certain he has himself under control. Then he pulls back enough to look at Reg. I love you. You know that, right? There's only a brief pause before Regulus starts nodding. Yeah, I know that. James leans forward and kisses the top of his head. So fucking much, Reg. So fucking much. Yeah, Reg says into his chest. Yeah, me too. I love you too. And that's all there is, really. Sirius is sitting on the train, one knee bent, foot resting on the edge of the seat across from him. Remus had to go do prefect duty, and he's left Sirius alone with a sulking James, God knows why, and a sleeping Peter. Every few minutes, Sirius checks the time, only to groan internally at how slowly it's passing. They're all going to the Potters this year. Well, except Peter, technically, but his home is the closest to the cottage anyway, so he'll be overloads. There was no way in hell Sirius and James were going to let Remus spend Christmas alone with Lyle. Or, more likely, just alone, because Lyle Lupin is a bastard who would absolutely bail on his son during his first Christmas without his mom. Besides, there's supposed to be a full moon over the break. Remus is already getting twitchy about it. In general, Remus is never particularly chuffed about the whole werewolf thing, but he especially hates it when he has to transform away from the shack. Sirius isn't sure what they're going to do when they graduate, but he pushes that thought aside. A problem for another day. Needing a distraction, he gives James's shin a kick. Prick, James says, pulling himself out of Sirius's reach without taking his eyes off the window. He's been staring out at the scenery all maudlin for like an hour. Sirius stretches out, kicking his shin again for good measure. Ow, James hisses. Fuck off. But at least he's looking at Sirius now. Well, glaring anyway. You gonna tell me what's wrong? James is rubbing his leg like a little baby. I'm just tired, he mumbles. It's work for Sirius not to roll his eyes. Instead, he decides to just shoot James a grin. Yes, that happens when you spend all night out with your boy toy. James really does roll his eyes. It's all big and huffy and dramatic. He should win an award. Just leave it, would you? He means it. Sirius can tell the difference, when James is pouting and when he's actually upset. Did something happen? He asks, tone suddenly sincere. James sighs, looking worn out, hands scrubbing at his face. No, nothing. I don't know. Sirius feels something vaguely violent starting to grow inside him. Did he hurt you? He almost barks. A pained expression comes across James's face. I can't talk about it, Pads. Because he doesn't want anyone to know? James nods and then stops himself. I don't know. Maybe that's not fair. It's complicated. James always gives everyone more credit than they deserve. Sirius knows that better than anyone. It's not complicated, Sirius says sternly. He's gone and made you miserable before Christmas, and that's grounds for retribution. Sirius doesn't ask the obvious question, the did he end things question, because James will tell him if he wants to, and because sometimes answering that question hurts more than the rest of it. James gives him a weak smile. Thanks, but I don't think that'll be necessary. It's definitely necessary. You look worse than that time someone nearly decapitated you with a bludger. James rolls his eyes, but Sirius continues. I really think he's unclear on the rules here. I'm the only one allowed to ruin your life. James snorts. And you're so good at it. I'm an overachiever. They share a grin before Sirius gets earnest again. Really, James, I mean it. Are you okay? You can tell me. I won't ask his name or, birthday or whatever you think is going to give him away. James gives him a sad look. Thank you. Really, I can't. I promised. And that's the end of it for James. He made a promise, and James Potter never breaks his promises. Okay, Sirius says, even though it kills him. James nods, going back to staring out his window. Sirius hates it. He has half a mind to scream at James about how stupid he's being, but he refrains because he knows it won't accomplish anything. Once James loves someone, it's kind of game over. The kid has claws that would put Mooney to shame, and once he gets them in you, he never lets go. It's one of the things that Sirius likes best about him. One of the things that allowed him to relax around James, knowing that he wasn't just going to walk away. But right now, it's fucking infuriating, because if it hadn't been clear already that the guy he's seeing is a complete douche canoe, now he's out here making James miserable at Christmas. Christmas, for Christ's sake. James loves Christmas. James loves Christmas so much that he's managed to make Sirius love Christmas, which, before having met James, Sirius would have thought impossible. Everything was terrible at Grimmauld Place, including holidays. I'm gonna go find the girls, Sirius says eventually, because he's pretty sure if he spends another second in this compartment, he's going to blow up at James. James, who is currently nodding his head. All right, he says, not tearing his eyes away from the window. It figures that James would have terrible taste in romantic partners. Things have been looking okay there for a while with Evans. I mean, sure, she was never going to go out with him, at least not until recently, but it seemed promising that he wanted her to. But this guy, clearly a demotion. Sirius skulks along the train, not really trying to find the girls' compartment, and maybe a little bit trying to run into Remus on his prefect rounds. It's ridiculous how often he misses Remus when he isn't around, even when it's only for an hour or two. It's definitely gotten worse since they started being more than platonic, since he's finally been able to get his mouth on him, been able to fall asleep with his head on his chest. Somewhere deep down, he thinks he knew it would be like this. Though once he got a little piece of Remus, he would become insatiable. It's frightening, really. He enters an emptier train car, most of the compartment doors thrown open, revealing vacant chairs. There are always spots left over on the holidays when everyone isn't taking the train back to London. Some people's parents taking them right from the school, other people's parents not taking them at all. Sometimes Sirius wonders if that'd be him. If without James, he would be spending Christmas alone in his dorm room right now. It's a stupid thought. Without James, he never would have left Grimmauld in the first place. The sound of murmured voices pulls him up short. Obviously, it's bad to eavesdrop, blah, 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 but then if you're too stupid to cast a silencing charm or a muffliato, whose fault is it really if you're overheard? Sirius creeps slowly toward the voices. They're too quiet for him to make it out, but it definitely sounds like a girl and a guy. He pauses just before the doorway of one of the only closed compartments, making sure to hang back enough that his silhouette won't be seen through the glass. I want to keep in contact with you, are the first words Sirius is able to pick out. His brain spinning for a moment when he realizes it's Mary who's speaking. 2 weeks is a long time. I wouldn't want you to go forgetting about me. Oh shit. Maybe he shouldn't be listening to this. His ex-girlfriend getting mushy with her new guy is not exactly something he needs to hear. He's already walking away when the reply comes, a little louder than those before. I don't think forgetting you is likely. Sirius's feet freeze. He knows that voice. He'd know it anywhere. It's Regulus. Mary is with Regulus. That thought alone seems to short-circuit his brain for a moment, and he doesn't hear anything else that's being said, only the noise of his own pulse pounding in his ears. He knows that he ought to go back to his own compartment, that he ought to calm down and talk it out with James and Remus, but he's too angry right now, too caught off guard to handle this at all correctly. He's not sure how he ends up turning around, or throwing open the compartment door, or pointing his wand at his brother's face. Merlin, Sirius, Mary says, shuffling out of the line of fire while Regulus backs up as far as he can against the window, hands in the air. At least they're both fully clothed. Sirius thinks before, shivering in disgust at the image that conjures. I can't believe you, he hisses at Mary, eyes still on his brother, who looks as apathetic about the whole thing as he always does. You can't believe me? Mary repeats, a dangerous edge in her voice, warning Sirius to tread carefully here. Sirius doesn't answer her. Doesn't know how to put into words what a fucking betrayal this is. I mean, Regulus? Regulus? His brother? His fucking Death Eater brother? It's too close and too sore and too mean. He wouldn't have thought Mary capable of it. Are you going to use that anytime soon? Regulus asks, voice flat as he nods at Sirius's wand. Because if not, I have places to be. Sirius growls, not at all appreciating his brother's smug tone. He's not sure if he'd actually been planning on hexing him or not, but before he can think better of it, he hears the word levicorpus spit out of his mouth. Regulus's legs fly out from under him, pulling him toward the ceiling. Fuck! Regulus startles, while Mary rolls her eyes, collapsing into the seat behind her. What are you doing, Sirius? He really has no idea. What am I doing? He demands. What the hell are you doing? Regulus? Mary, really? I thought you at least had standards. Mary lets out a laugh that Sirius does not appreciate. I'm not fucking your brother, Sirius. No? Just hanging out in empty train compartments, whispering sweet nothings into one another's ears? Mary's still looking at him like this is somehow funny. Sweet nothings? Since when do I whisper sweet nothings into anybody's ears? This isn't a fucking joke, Mary. Well, that's too bad, because from where I'm sitting, it's hilarious. Hilarious? Did he tell you he has the fucking mark? Huh? There's a palpable shift in the compartment, like everyone's collectively started holding their breath. Well? Sirius goes on, while Mary just stares back at him in horrified silence. Aren't you gonna laugh? I thought this was hilarious. Mary just keeps staring at him, like she's trying to work something out. Sirius can't read her expression. He has no idea what it means. Eventually, she turns her attention to Regulus. Is he telling the truth? Mary asks, voice serious. Regulus looks at her and then away, which, of course, isn't good enough for Mary. She stands on the seat she'd been sitting on, reaching out and grabbing hold of Regulus's arm. He barely tries to fight her, maybe realizing how futile it would be. She pulls his sleeve back without ceremony, and part of Sirius expects there to be nothing there. Nothing to reveal. Part of him wants desperately to have misread the signs. But it's impossible to miss. A great, ugly snake and skull squirming on his forearm. Sirius has to look away. Something vile growing in the pit of his stomach. Does he know? Mary asks, voice colder than Sirius has ever heard it. She's still holding Regulus's arm out, and Sirius can see him starting to squirm, not able to meet her eyes. Does who know? Sirius asks. But Mary isn't paying attention to him anymore. He doesn't, does he? Please, Regulus says. He's shaking, face shockingly pale for someone who's currently hanging upside down. Mary looks at him like she's never heard the word before. Please? Are you kidding me? You have this on your arm and you want me to what? Lie for you? Protect you? Do you have any idea what this means, little boy? She growls, shaking his arm. Sirius can see her nails digging into his skin, see the sick look on Regulus's face. This means you want me dead, and you have the fucking nerve, after everything else, to say, please? Regulus doesn't answer. Of course he doesn't. Silence has always been his shield. Anger Sirius's. The louder their mother got, the quieter Regulus always became. Mary shakes her head, throwing his arm away and stepping into the ground, heading for the open door. Mary, what's going on? Sirius demands. Ask your bloody best mate. She doesn't stop, doesn't even look at him. Sirius Black likes to think of himself as brave, but he does have some self-preservation instinct, and there is no way he's going to try and stop her. For a moment after she leaves, the pair of brothers sit in complete silence, neither Sirius nor Regulus able to look at one another, or speak, or move. Eventually, Sirius sighs, waving his wand and letting Regulus drop back to the ground, maybe a little less gracefully than he should have. Regulus doesn't say anything, though, doesn't even stand up, just crawls into a sitting position with his back against the seats, hands gripping his knees. I take it you're not shagging my ex-girlfriend, then? Sirius says finally. No. Regulus doesn't look at him, staring straight ahead, his voice strained like he isn't getting enough air. Sirius waits for him to continue, but he doesn't, so eventually Sirius is forced to speak again. What do James and Mary know? Regulus only shakes his head. Sirius does his best not to hex him again. Is this about Mary's attack? That gets a laugh out of Regulus, but it's all twisted and choked and nothing like Sirius remembers. Regulus brings his hands up to his face, holding his head with his elbows on his knees. Regulus, God, I don't know. Yes, a little. I don't know. Just please go away. His words are muffled by his hands. Sirius considers going to find James, who is more likely to provide him with answers anyway, but for some reason, his feet won't move. He looks so small, says the annoying voice in his head. He looks so lost. You said you felt like you were drowning. The words come out of him before he's even really decided to say them. They've been on his mind since the Veritaserum. He'd been meaning to find Regulus, to ask him about them, but it just somehow never felt like the right time. Not now. We're not doing this now, Regulus mutters. He's still shaking from earlier, and for a moment, Sirius wonders if he's crying, but when Regulus drops his hands, his eyes are dry. I know what it's like, Sirius says, watching his brother warily, to be alone in that house. Regulus shoots him a sharp look, the first since Mary left. You weren't alone. You had me. Sirius is surprised by the conviction in his brother's voice, surprised by how much he means that. Did I? Sirius asked, not even in an attempt to be confrontational, but just honest. Because I don't remember you ever being there, Reg. Not when it counted. Not when I needed you. Silence. Sirius sighs, running a hand through his hair. Bella, that day, that last one, she wanted you to torture me. You remember? After a brief pause, Regulus nods. Would you have? If Dad hadn't stepped in, would you have done it? His brother is looking at him with his real face. Maybe that doesn't make any sense, but it's true. Most of the time, when Sirius sees Regulus, he's walking around with this expression of disdain that is far too similar to their mother's, but here, now, he looks like Reg. Looks like the kid who used to follow Sirius everywhere. Used to beg him to read stories and build snow forts. He used to crawl into his bed at night when he was scared. Not their parents' bed, but his. He'd always felt more like a parent than a brother to Regulus. And maybe that's why it hurt so much. That when things started to get bad, really bad, Regulus disappeared. He may not have chosen their parents, but he certainly didn't choose Sirius either. Instead, he had gone and made himself as small and quiet as possible, as though hoping the world would simply overlook him, never forcing him to make up his mind. Eventually, Regulus sighs, running a hand over his face before meeting Sirius's stare. Yes. Sirius closes his eyes after a second. It hurts, but only a little. After all, it's not as though he hadn't been expecting it. See? He says, opening his eyes again. Alone. Regulus only looks away, back down at his knees, and Sirius realizes that he doesn't even feel angry anymore. Just sad. Joyeux Noël, Reg, he says dryly. J'espère que cette année tu apprendras à nager. He walks away before his brother's silence can get too loud. Chapter endnotes. French translation. Merry Christmas, Reg. I hope this year you learn how to swim. Hey, hi, hello. I feel like this was short but concentrated. Like all the scenes are pretty juicy, but maybe I'm wrong. Thank you as always for all the comments and kudos. Makes my day. Love hearing all your thoughts and theories. Chapter 31. Chapter summary. Mary. The meaning is not known for certain. There are several theories, including sea of bitterness, rebelliousness, and wished for child. Trigger warning. Referenced sexual assault. Mary isn't an idiot. She knows that she isn't all right. Between her inability to sleep for more than a few hours at a time and her new paranoia that she's certainly constantly being followed, she's definitely spiraling in a downward direction. Still, sitting on the roof of her childhood home, blowing smoke into the pink evening sky, she's finding it hard to care. Well, actually, she's been finding it a bit hard to care in general lately. It's too cold for this, but she can't stand being inside anymore. She feels trapped by the bedroom she grew up in, more full of the kid she used to be than the person she is now. She barely recognizes herself these days, barely remembers caring about the boys whose posters are hung up on her walls, or the names of her stuffed animals, or the girls who gave her the friendship bracelets still sitting on her dresser, carelessly taken off one day and never put back on. She breathes in deep, filling her lungs with all the smoke she can, letting it burn, holding it in, until she starts to cough and choke. She sits up, throwing the nearly finished cigarette off the edge of the roof and letting the tears squeeze out of the corners of her eyes. She doesn't really cry. Hasn't in a long time. This feels good, though, even if it isn't the same. She hears him coming before she hears the window sliding open. I thought Dad fixed this, Damien says, pulling himself through like he was invited. He did, Mary nods at the window screen she popped out and had thrown further down the roof. Damien lets out a low whistle as he settles next to her. You're gonna get hell for that. Mary only shrugs, looking out bitterly at the quickly darkening sky. A particularly bitter gust of wind blows through them, sneaking right under her jumper and through her skin. Fuck, her brother hisses, crossing his arms over his chest. Bloody freezing out here. No one's stopping you from going back inside. Her brother lets out a huff. They're close in age, only 2 years apart, Damien being the older sibling. They used to be close in other ways, too. Used to be friends. Though every time she comes home, it gets harder and harder to remember that. Damien's at uni now. Mary can never remember which one. Can't imagine she'll ever go to one herself. Who was he then? Damien asks. Mary reaches into her pocket and pulls out another cigarette. Excessive, but she knows he hates the smell and she's hoping it'll make him go back inside. Who was who? She asks, lighting the thing in an old-fashioned way, with matches stolen from the kitchen. She's gotten too used to doing this with magic. The boy who's got you out here being moody? She inhales, the smoke scratching her raw throat. There's no boy, she says on her exhale. It's insulting, but not surprising that he thinks everything she feels is because of some boy. But then she supposes there's no way he could guess at what the actual problem is. It's incredibly easy to hide things from your parents as a Muggle-born. For all their talk of inclusivity, Hogwarts has never been particularly committed to communicating with the Muggle families of their students. From what Mary can tell, all her parents were told about her attack was that she got injured and would recover quickly. When her parents asked her about it, she told them it was a Quidditch injury. Just the mention of the word Quidditch made their eyes glaze over. There were no more questions after that. Then what is it? Damien pushes. She can feel him looking over at her without turning her head. He coughs as she lets go another cloud of smoke. What's going on with you? It's an interesting question. What is her problem exactly? Is it that a group of boys she goes to school with violated her in every possible way? Is it that there's a war coming that she has no choice but to be a part of? Or perhaps, is it that the one person she trusted with the truth, with her feelings about all of this, is involved with one of the bad guys? Because maybe James doesn't know about the mark, but he still knows who Regulus Black is, the kind of person he is, and what people like him do to people like Mary. Oi, Earth to Mary? Damien snaps his fingers in front of her face. She looks over at him and then back at the now black sky, flicking the ash off the end of her cigarette. Never mind, you're right. It's a boy. Mary barely tries to sell it, but Damien doesn't appear to need much convincing. You need me to beat him up? She's pretty sure he's only half joking. No, she says firmly, something cold coiling in her gut. I have it covered. Out, Lily repeats. Mary rolls her eyes, lying on her back on her bed, curling the phone cord around her fingers. Yes, out. It's New Year's Eve. Sure, but we normally do a movie night on New Year's. You, me, Alice, Marlene. Yes, I know. I've been there. Aren't you bored of it? No. That makes Mary smile. She's always admired Lily's ability to be completely immune to peer pressure. Lily does what she wants when she wants to and doesn't care whether anyone else thinks it's cool or not. Well, I am, so I say we all go out this year. Out where? She doesn't need to see Lily's face to know that she's frowning. There's a club in London, Mary says, as casually as she can, as though going out to Muggle clubs is something she does all the time. There are several, I would imagine. Well, look at you with the jokes, little Miss Sarcasm. It's called Infinity. They're doing a whole New Year's Eve thing. We should go. There's a brief pause. We're underage. Damien can get us fakes. All of us? Mm-hmm. Mary inspects her nails. Oh, also, can you invite James and the crew? There's some static, like maybe she's dropped the phone. You want the boys to come? Obviously. And you can't invite them because? Mary lets out an exasperated sigh. I'm busy with other preparations. Why can't Marlene? I'm sorry, Mary interrupts, sounding not at all sorry. Have you lost your ability to speak with James Potter? Been hit with some kind of anti-James Potter curse I'm not aware of? Lily mutters something under her breath that Mary can't hear. What was that? I didn't catch it, she says in her most sickeningly sweet voice. No, I have not lost the ability to speak to James Potter. Mary grins, even though Lily can't see her. Excellent. Then put on your big girl pants and send him an owl. Lily huffs on the other end of the line. I just don't understand why it has to be me. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was obvious. You fancy him, so I think it's funny. Also, he's currently fucking Regulus Black, and I want to know if it's serious. Of course, Mary doesn't say that bit. But if Lily can turn turn his head, then maybe the problem will resolve itself and Mary will have one less pit in her stomach. You're a terrible person, Lily says flatly. Mary snorts. So I've been told. I still think this is a bad idea. But you're coming anyway? Mary can practically hear Lily rolling her eyes over the phone. As if you'd let me say no. Smart girl. There's a small pause, and Mary instantly feels her skin start to crawl. She knows what's coming, and she ought to just cut it off at the pass, and just say goodbye and hang up before Lily has a chance. But for some reason, she's decided to be a masochist today. This silence is feeling very poignant, Evans. Lily huffs out a laugh. It is a bit. Well then, spit it out. What do you want to say? Mary does her best to maintain an aura of indifference. Eventually, Lily sighs. Are you all right, Mary? Ah, yes. There it is. Since the attack, she hasn't been able to have a single conversation with her friends without it ending up here. Sure. Sure? Well, I'm bored as hell right now, which isn't exactly a lie. She likes her family. Really, she does. Her mother is bright and colorful, and her father is soft and sweet, and their home is a mess, but only if you don't know it very well. There's a genius to the chaos. To the walls that are covered in far too many photos and the red sofa hiding under far too many pillows. She likes her family, her home. Except that these days they don't really feel like hers anymore. Magic is building a wall between them. It makes her stir crazy. Damien not keeping you entertained? Lily asks. She's met Mary's brother a few times, back when they were young enough to still have play dates. Despite being older, Damien has always been more than happy to play with Mary's friends. With her. Probably still would if she'd let him. Damien's a goody two-shoes. You know that. Speaking of terribly dull older siblings, Mary goes on, desperate to change the subject. How is Petunia? Lily snorts. Not living here anymore, thank God. Me and Mom went to visit her new place the other day, and it was just blah, you know? Mary laughs. Where is she living now, anyway? Surrey. Oh, God, no. Uh-huh. It's like no one there is even a real person. All the houses look identical, and Petunia was wearing an apron when she answered the door, and Vernon was in a suit, and he made her serve us. What? Right? Lily's tone is similarly indignant. She was in the kitchen basically the whole time, and me and Mom offered to help, but she wouldn't let us, and then Vernon got all snobby about having a wife who didn't need help, like that was some sort of brag. That man is the worst person I have never met. You have no idea, Lily sighs. Anyway, I don't know. She seems happy, so I guess that's all that matters. They're talking about having kids soon. Oh no, they want to procreate? That can't be good for the future of the human race. Lily laughs. God, I shouldn't find that funny. Of course you should. I'm hilarious. Just be grateful that Damien hasn't gone and married an absolute prick. Mary opens her mouth to confidently say that Damien would never, but finds she can't quite get the words out, because she doesn't actually know if that's true anymore. She finds herself looking at the wall that separates their bedrooms. She's never met one of his girlfriends before, never been home long enough or at the right time. She actually has no idea what kind of girls he dates. Mary? Sorry. Talk of matrimony always makes me maudlin. You don't think you'll ever, want to get married? Mary laughs before she can stop herself. For some reason, I just don't see that happening for me. And then, what about you? She can tell that Lily is biting her lip. It might be nice. I don't know. Have to be the right person, though. I do think that is the general idea with marriage. You know what I mean. Sure. Lily laughs like she knows Mary is only humoring her. Right, well, I should go. But Mary. Yeah? You can talk to us, Really? Mary swallows. I do know. Yeah, it's just, I don't want to. She couldn't say that to Marlene. It would upset her too much, but Lily, she somehow knows, will understand. Okay, well, I'll see you New Year's Eve, I guess. No guessing. Say hello to Jamie for me. I'm hanging up now. Mary makes a series of kissing noises into the phone until the line goes dead. Okay, so it's possible she isn't actually getting their fake IDs from Damien because he's such a bloody goody two-shoes that he would never. It's possible that she is, in fact, magicking them, which may or may not be a little bit illegal. Usually she can get away with smaller spells without anyone seeming to notice, but since there are so many IDs, she decides to go on a day trip to Diagon and drive and charm them there. It's almost impossible for the Ministry to know who's casting in a magic location that busy. Plus, it gets her out of the house and away from her family. You're going out? Damien had caught Mary trying to make a swift exit at the front door that morning. Mm-hmm. Sliding a pair of oversized sunglasses onto her face. Why? No reason, just... He shrugged, shoving his hands into his pocket. Thought maybe we could hang out for a bit. Another time, yeah? Where are you going? Maybe I could come with, or give you a drive? No, she said, too fast and too sharp. Sorry, it's a magic thing. Damien had instantly frozen. Ah. The hands returned to the pockets. A magic thing. Yep. Okay, so see you later? Now, sitting outside Florian's with an ice cream cone, charming IDs into existence, she feels a little guilty. She isn't sure why she's so desperate to get away from him, why the idea of spending time alone with her brother is so frightening. She just knows that it makes her skin crawl every time she thinks about it. Maybe, the irritating voice in her head hisses, you're afraid that he still knows you too well, that he'll see right through you like he always did. And maybe you're afraid that you want him to. Stupid, she mutters to herself, punctuating it with another flick of her wand. She picks the newly formed card up, squinting at the details. The ink is bleeding a little, but it'll have to do. She has no idea why that happens. Suddenly, there's a sound of screeching metal, and then... Shit. Mary looks up to find Regulus Black on his hands and knees a few paces away from her, ice cream all over the cobblestone in front of him. Fuck, he mutters, pulling back so he's sitting on his heels, inspecting his hands, which appear to have gotten scraped on the way down. Mary wonders if he's seen her, but that question is answered a second later when his eyes flash up and meet hers. She arches her brow. Was that my fault? She asks, feeling a little smug that just the sight of her sends Regulus Black to his knees. I'm not sure you can take credit for my lack of coordination, Regulus mutters, but I wasn't expecting to see you here. Or anyone, really. Pretty popular place to be if you don't want to see anyone. He nods, looking back down at his hands. Yeah, well, most people aren't getting ice cream in December. Which might be a valid point, but since Florian's patio has a warming charm permanently cast over it in the winter, Mary hardly sees why the weather matters. They let you out on your own, little Black? Or is your mummy around here somewhere? Mary asks, intrigued when she sees the color rush to Regulus's cheeks. My mother isn't here, no. But? I'm sensing a definite but at the end of that sentence. Regulus grimaces. Creature is with me, our house elf. We're getting some things for Christmas dinner. I see. She runs him over with her eyes. It's strange to see him out of his Slytherin colors and wizarding robes. Instead, he is wearing a gray peacoat and black pants, a pair of pointy leather boots on his feet. Dressed like this, she can almost forget that he's the heir to the Black family dynasty. Almost make the mistake of thinking he's just another boy. So you left the creature, he cracks. Mary arches her brow, but doesn't comment. Creature, To do all the work while you fucked off to get ice cream? Very nice, Black. Actually, I was getting us both ice cream. Not that it matters now. You were getting your house elf ice cream? She repeats. Technically sherbet. That's his favorite. Mary wrinkles her nose. Ew. Sherbet. Regulus nods gravely. I know. I keep trying to get him to try something else, but he's adamant. Honestly, I think he just likes how colorful it is. It suddenly hits Mary that she's having a conversation with Regulus Black about his house elf's ice cream preferences, and she has no idea how she's meant to process any of that. Ah, Regulus says knowingly, after a pause that is too long to be comfortable. Ah? She asks. You've just remembered. Remembered what? He gives her a dry smile. Who you're talking to. Well, at least he's self-aware. If such things matter when it comes to psychotic blood purists, which Mary's pretty sure they don't. That happened to you a lot? He shrugs. Probably more than most people. Another long pause. Are you planning to stay on the ground forever, or are you waiting for your house elf to come help you up? Regulus blinks, looking down at himself like he'd forgotten he was still kneeling on the ground. Right, no. He mutters, getting to his feet and quickly vanishing the mess he made. Well, he brushes his hands off on his coat. I better go. Aren't you going to replace your ice cream? He shakes his head, looking a little rueful. I don't think so. Running into you, falling, doesn't feel like the universe is a fan of me getting ice cream today. Mary very nearly laughs. That's absurd. You do realize that. Oh yeah, absolutely. She shakes her head. Well, all right then. Turning back to her IDs, not willing to actually say goodbye to him, like this was a real conversation, like he deserves civil niceties. And that should be the end of it. Really, she means for it to be. But then, before she could stop herself, she hears herself say, You said sorry. Regulus is already halfway into the road, and Mary wonders if he's going to pretend he didn't hear her. But after a few seconds of hesitating, he retraces his steps, coming to stand in front of her table. When you left me outside the infirmary, she clarifies. There's no one around, but she watches Regulus's eyes do a quick search anyway. Yeah, he says finally. I said sorry. Why? He arches his brow. Why? Yes. What exactly are you sorry for, Regulus Black? She stares him down, waiting for him to decide how honest he's willing to be, how honest he's capable of being. I don't know, he says eventually. All of it, I guess. Which is barely an answer. He didn't have to do it. You could have just taken me to the infirmary and left my head alone. No one was forcing you. There was no wand to your head. Regulus nods slowly. I could have. But you didn't. His eyes keep hopping around, making sure no one is within hearing distance. Not that Mary thinks it would matter much if they were. If they can't punish Mulciber for this because of his family connections, there's no way that anything's going to happen to Regulus Black. You have your people, and I have mine. I expect you do what you had to protect them. Mary does her absolute best not to hex him. My friends don't normally go around assaulting people. Regulus looks away, but doesn't move. Even when Mary thinks he might just walk away from this conversation. I don't agree with what they do. No, she says sharply. You just make sure they can keep doing it. And when he goes silent, she continues. You must spend a lot of time being sorry. A sad sort of smile comes across his face. I do, actually. How fucking useless of you. Her voice is so sharp, she's surprised he isn't bleeding. A sorry Death Eater. He flinches, pulling nervously on his sleeve. Are you going to tell him? She arches her brow. Who? He gives her a look like, you know who, and she does, but she's still going to make him say it. After a few seconds of tense silence, he sighs. James? Ah, she says. Yes. She's not sure what answer he was expecting, but he recoils almost instantly, face going pale. Funny. She wouldn't have thought he was capable of caring that much about someone other than himself, but then James has always had a way with the black boys, hasn't he? When? Regulus asks, sounding like he's having trouble breathing. Mary gives him a once-over and then shrugs. I am seeing him on New Year's Eve. Regulus flinches. I know I'm not in the position to ask for favors. No, you're really not. Mary interrupts, but that doesn't deter him. Please, can I do it? Can I be the one to tell him? He looks at her beseechingly. I'm worried that if you tell him now, before he can reach me, he'll do something stupid. Mary would like to dismiss this fear, but she's known James long enough to see the truth in it. Like show up at Grimmauld Place demanding to speak with you? Yes, Regulus says, voice tight. Exactly like that. Mary has no idea how that would end. Not well, she imagines. Not well for anyone. All right, she says finally, watching as Regulus's whole body seems to relax. He has to reach out and grab the table in front of him for support. Mary leans forward. You have 2 weeks after we get back, she says calmly. If you haven't told him by then, I will. Regulus still looks deathly pale. Okay, he says, sounding a bit hollow. Okay. Mary nods, leaning back in her chair. Good. Glad that's settled. Now get the fuck away from me. Regulus doesn't need to be told twice. Turning around without ceremony and stumbling across the street. Mary is not at all confident that James still won't do something stupid, even if they are at Hogwarts, even if Regulus is the one to tell him. But she supposes that at least whatever he does at school will be less likely to get him killed. She sighs, looking over at her melted ice cream and vanishing it. She should probably be a little more cautious with the amount of underage magic she uses, but she can't bring herself to care. Without much pause, she turns back to the task at hand, making sure her and her friends can get absolutely plastered on New Year's Eve. Give it back. I don't have it. Yes, you do, you little twerp. Give it back. Mary has barely closed the front door behind her when her little sister comes barreling into the hall, throwing her arms around Mary's waist and burying her head in her stomach. What's up, Buttercup? She asks, gently patting her head. There's no time for an answer before Trinia walks in, already rolling her eyes. God, Lou, you're such a baby. Hey, no name-calling, Mary says without thinking. She stole my shirt, Trinia says, crossing her arms over her chest. Trinia's 13, and Lou is 8. When they were younger, their parents used to refer to the three of them as the girls, as in, here comes Damien and the girls, like they were some sort of band. No, I didn't, Lou says into Mary's stomach. It's almost certainly a lie, but Lou has always been Mary's favorite, so she doesn't say anything. You did. Now tell me where it is. Wait. Mary holds up her hand. You don't know where it is? Then how do you know she took it? Trinia puts her hands on her hips and rolls her eyes. Because it's missing? Like Mary is the stupidest person on earth. So, Trinia repeats, dragging out the word. She obviously took it. I didn't. Lou stamps her foot, still clinging to Mary. Trinia narrows her eyes and looks like she's about to say something vicious when Mary cuts her off. Have you checked your room? What? She asks indignantly. Have you checked your room? It's not in my closet or my hamper, Trinia says stubbornly. But you didn't check anywhere else? Trinia throws her arms up in the air. I don't need to. I wouldn't put it anywhere else. She's taken it. She jabs an accusing finger at their little sister. You really shouldn't go around making unfounded accusations like that. Yeah, you're being super unfunded, comes Lou's little voice, and Mary has to bite the inside of her cheek to keep from laughing. Ugh, whatever. You two are so annoying. With that, she turns around and stomps back up the stairs to her room. Mary waits until she's certain the coast is clear before she crouches down to Lou's level. Did you take the shirt? She whispers. Lou stares back at her with big brown eyes. And for a moment, Mary thinks she might not tell her. But then she smiles. Yeah. Mary smiles back. She can't help herself. I thought so. Where'd you hide it? Mom's bedroom. She'll never check there, and even if she does, Trinia isn't dumb enough to yell at Mom for stealing her clothes. Mary laughs, messing up her hair before straightening up again. You're a little evil genius, aren't you? Her sister grins at her, missing a few of her teeth. Yes. All right, go on, you gremlin, before Trinia comes back and starts yelling at us again. Where is Mom, anyway? Kitchen, Lou says, already scrambling up the stairs, practically on all fours. Mary nods, hanging up her bag in the front hall before walking to the other side of the house. She'd hoped that Trinia would get a letter when she turned 11. There'd never been any question that Damien was a muggle, being older than her, but Mary had been convinced that she couldn't be the only one. Surely her sisters would be witches. It had been devastating when Trinia's birthday came and went, and no letter arrived. Not for Trinia, of course, or their parents. Neither of them seemed to care much one way or the other, but Mary? Mary had been so desperate to have someone else in her family who understood. They'd all been so close when she was growing up, and she missed that. Now there was this wall between Mary and the rest of her family. She'd thought that maybe if she wasn't the only one, it would help break some of that down. She was doing her best not to hope with Lou. Hey, Mary says as she slides into one of the chairs at the kitchen table and watches her mother flutter around making dinner. It smells good. Warm and spicy, but then it always does. Carrie McDonald looks over her shoulder and smiles. Hello, sweet pea. How was downtown? Her mother has a head full of brown curls that are piled haphazardly on the top of her head, loosely held by a silk handkerchief and a collection of pens and pencils she's stuck in it and then forgotten about. It was good. Mary loves watching her mother cook. She always has. It's like a whole production, with music on in the background and her mom constantly chopping and stirring and mixing. The food at Hogwarts is good, but it's impersonal. She tried to explain that to Marlene once, but she doesn't think she understood. There's just something about her mother's food that's so undeniably her. Made with love, she always says. Did you see any of your friends? Mother asks while meticulously dicing an onion into tiny pieces. Mary thinks of Regulus Black and nearly laughs. No, I did not. Her mother glances up, smile a little too knowing in her eyes. That's too bad. Mary tries to look casual. Sometimes it's nice to be alone. Her mother holds her stare for a moment longer before turning back to her cooking. Sometimes. Part of her wants to tell her mother. Tell her what really happened this term. Tell her about the war and the Death Eaters. Wants to tell her that she feels like she's in over her head and she doesn't know who to ask for help. Not because she doesn't have people around her who care, but because she's not sure she has anyone who can bear it all. Damien was pretty disappointed that he missed you today. Her mother interrupts her thoughts, snapping her back to the present. Mary makes sure to keep her expression neutral. If he wanted to hang out, he should have said something sooner. Her mother makes a noise that Mary knows means, I don't agree with you, but it's not worth fighting about. You're still going out to a friend's house on New Year's Eve, yes? She asks, and Mary doesn't like where this is going. Yes, she says cautiously. You should bring Damien with you. Mary rolls her eyes. I'm sure he has his own friends. He does. He sees them all the time. He wants to see you. Mom, Mary says in a tone of voice that is eerily similar to Trinia's. Mary, her mother volleys it back to her. He won't know anyone, which is not strictly true. Damien does technically know Marlene and Lily. I don't want to have to babysit him the whole time. Her mother laughs, dumping something into a pan that sizzles. I'm sure Damien will be able to manage a few social interactions without you holding his hand. You can't make me bring him, Mary says petulantly, folding her arms over her chest. Her mother looks over at her, brow arched. It's an intimidating expression, one Mary has stolen from her mother and put to good use on many occasions. Are you and Damien fighting? Her mother asks finally, taking Mary by surprise. No? Good. Her mother rests her arms on the counter, separating them, leaning toward her. Mary, he just wants to be your big brother. He doesn't get to be very often, so throw him a bone every once in a while, okay? It's Christmas. So you're playing the Christmas card now, Mary says, though for some reason her throat has grown unreasonably tight. Her mother smiles. Absolutely. Fine, Mary sighs. I'll ask him, but he probably won't want to come anyway. This does not stop her mother from beaming at her, walking around the counter so she can pull Mary into a hug. Thank you. She gives her a good squeeze before kissing the top of her head and going back to her cooking. Will you set the table? She calls over her shoulder. It's almost dinner time. Mary makes a big show of getting up and getting the plates, but the truth is, she doesn't mind. She simply has a reputation as a brat to maintain, and if her mother's smile is anything to go by, she knows it. Just don't be weird, okay? Mary says for the 100th time as her and Damien walk down Carnaby Street. It's busy and dark and a little cold. Mary can feel the excitement in the air. People already tipsy and loud. It smells like cigarette smoke and cheap beer and something deep-fried. In other words, it smells like a party. Damien laughs. I'm not gonna be weird. Most people like me a lot, actually. He shoots her a grin. Yeah, you're a big popular football lad. I get it. She rolls her eyes. I don't know what you have against football. What she has against football is the fact that her parents have attended every game her brother has ever played since he was 6. What she has against football is the cabinet full of Damien's trophies in their living room and their father practically drooling over them every single time they have company. Oh, if you met my son Damien, he's a football star. Which isn't even true, by the way. He's only playing on the uni team, and he doesn't plan on going pro. What she has against football is that she's every a bit as good as a Quidditch player as her brother is a footballer, and her parents will never understand that. Not because they actively don't want to, not because they're trying to choose favorites, but because they grew up with football. They can brag about it to their friends. They can't even tell their friends where Mary goes to school, let alone that she plays a sport on a flying broomstick. I don't have anything against football, she says, after too long a pause. Uh-huh. So, am I going to be meeting anyone special tonight? She shoots him a look out of the corner of her eye. Special? Love interests? Mary pulls a face that makes Damien laugh. Gross. Don't ever say that again. I'm just asking. I'm a good wingman, She gives him another skeptical look. Somehow, I doubt that. But no. No one of interest. One ex-boyfriend, I suppose. Damien instantly stiffens. Is this the guy that broke your heart? Mary scoffs as they round the corner, music pouring out of every building they passed. No boy has ever broken my heart. Mary's pretty sure that's true. Fine, then is he the boy who had you sitting on the roof feeling sorry for yourself? His voice has done that stupid thing where it gets all low and macho and stupid. I already told you I don't need you to beat anyone up for me, she says wearily. Mary? Oh, honestly. She comes to a stop, turning to face her brother and causing the people walking behind them to grumble as they're forced to maneuver around them. No, he isn't. I broke up with him. We're honestly very good friends when he isn't being an idiot. He has a boyfriend now anyway, so... There is a chance that maybe she shouldn't have said that. She watches her brother's eyes go wide. He has... Mary's gaze hardens. Yes. Is that going to be a problem for you? Because if it is, you can fuck right off. He's still staring at her in shock. No, not a problem. Just surprised, I guess. He passes his weight back and forth between his feet, hands rubbing at the back of his neck. Uncomfortable. Is that, common with wizards? Mary arches her brow. Are you suggesting only wizards are gay? Damien laughs a little, though it's still laced with nerves. No, I'm not. Her eyes narrow. I mean it, Damien. If you're going to make this into a thing, I'm not. He cuts her off. I'm not, I swear. I've just never met anyone who's, gay? Sure. She gives him another once-over. Statistically, that's unlikely, but they're not going to be all over each other or anything, so you really don't need to worry about it. Her brother nods. Right. Okay, yeah, cool. Cool, Mary repeats mockingly before she starts walking again. The silence between them lasts for about a block before Mary gives in. Are you seeing anyone? She asks, imagining the answer is no, since he's out with his little sister on New Year's Eve. Nah, there was for a bit, but, not anymore. She looks over at him. What happened? He shrugs. She, wanted to keep her options open, and I didn't. He gives her a self-deprecating smile. Mary snorts. Obviously, she didn't deserve you then. I'm not sure that's true, Damien says, smiling a bit more genuinely. But it's nice to hear you say it. Mary knocks her shoulder into his. Anytime. The silence returns, except this time Mary can feel the glances that Damien keeps sending her way. It's work for her not to roll her eyes. She knows exactly where this is going. Mary, are you okay? She really wishes people would stop asking her that. It's such a ridiculous question, as if anyone can ever answer it truthfully. Absolutely, she says, but she doesn't look at him. Doesn't need to know that he's making that dumb expression he does when he's concerned, all furrow-browed and sad-eyed. You can tell me, His voice drops, growing softer, reminding her of the way he used to talk to her after a nightmare when their dad would put on a scary movie. Sure. The concerned furrow doesn't go away. In fact, he goes so far as to reach out, squeezing her arm. Mary, But he's cut off by someone else calling her name. Mary! Both of them follow the voice to a small group of awkward-looking wizard teenagers leaning against a closed storefront across the street. Mary smiles. It's only been a week, but she realizes as soon as she sees them that she's missed these lunatics. Marlene launches herself at Mary, the second she's close enough, causing the pair to stumble into the road, laughing as Mary does her best not to lose her balance. Happy Christmas! Her best friend shouts in her ear, clearly already intoxicated. A few days late, but your enthusiasm makes up for it, Mary laughs, giving her a kiss on the cheek as the freckled blonde pulls away, eyes falling on her brother. Oh my God! What's up, Damien? He smiles at her, the pair performing some weird handshake they developed years ago that Mary has always disliked. Firstly, because handshakes are tacky, and secondly, because Damien needs to go find his own best mate and leave hers alone. Thank you very much. Hey, Lily says, laughing a little as she gives Mary her own, slightly less aggressive hug. How much has she had? Mary asks in a low voice. Lily's green eyes sparkle. Only 2 glasses of wine, I swear. Mary rolls her eyes. Bloody lightweight. I can hear you. Marlene sings songs from beside them. Good, Mary says over her shoulder. Marlene sticks out her tongue at her. How's it going, McDonald? Sirius grins from where he's leaning against the wall, ankles crossed. Remus on one side of him and James on the other, with Peter standing just a step behind. Happy New Year's, Mary, Remus adds. What Mooney said. James smiles, stepping forward to give her a one-armed hug. She tries to push down all the things she has to say to him, all the things she's been stewing over for the last few days. This is not the time. Not yet, anyway. Good to see Lily was able to reach you. she says to him, enjoying the way Lily's cheeks flush. James just looks confused. Why wouldn't she be able to reach me? But Mary waves the question away, turning back to the group at large. All right, children. She holds up her purse. I brought presents. She pulls out the stack of ID cards. Santa, is that you? Sirius asks, earning him a snicker from James and Peter and an elbow from Remus. You betcha, baby. Mary gives him a wink as she starts handing out cards, noticing that Damien very purposefully looks away. Like if he doesn't see the IDs, he can pretend he didn't stand by and allow their underage shenanigans to take place. She supposes she should be grateful that he didn't just run and tattle the minute she told him the plan. Hey, Mary? Remus asks quietly when she passes him his card. He nods his head in Damien's direction. Who's he? She looks over at him like she'd forgotten he was there. Oh, that's my older brother. Damien! She shouts, causing him to look up from the conversation with Marlene and Lily. Jesus, Mary, spare our eardrums, would you? This is Remus, Sirius, James, and Peter. She points out the Marauders to her brother. And you lot? That's Damien. The boys all nod to one another, and Mary can tell by the way that Damien's eyes roam over them that he's trying to figure out which one of them is Mary's ex. She has no intention of helping him out. It's much more fun to watch him guess. All right, now that we're all acquainted, let's get drunk, yeah? Here, here, Sirius calls out, arm swinging around Remus's shoulders as he pulls away from the wall. Marlene grabbing hold of Mary's hand while Lily very subtly maneuvers her way to James's side. Mary feels her chest fill with an unfamiliar fuzzy feeling. So unfamiliar that it takes her a while to figure out what it is. Love. She loves them. All of them. As stupid and ridiculous and useless as they all are. Marlene elbows her as they walk up to the club. What's that look for? Mary shakes her head. What look? She demands automatically. Marlene scrunches up her nose, pointing an accusing finger in Mary's face. That one. Mary playfully slaps her hand away. Didn't anyone ever tell you it's rude to point? Marlene grins, somehow bringing out the freckles on her cheeks. Nope. Figures. Marlene continues to scrunch at her. Eventually, Mary lets out an exaggerated sigh. It's nothing. I just think I've spent too much time with Lily. She's made me all sentimental. Marlene laughs. Oh no, what a tragedy. Tell me about it. Well, when we get inside, I'll buy you a drink to dull the pain. Mary grins at her. You better. The club is everything Mary had wanted. Loud and dark and crowded. She's drenched in sweat within 10 minutes of being inside, drinks sloshing around, glasses littering the floor where people have casually dropped them, or knocked them from their tables. There's one almost constantly in her hands, the cold feel of the glass and the burning of the alcohol down her throat, making her feel settled for the first time in ages. They find themselves in a booth somehow, tucked away in a corner, with ripped pleather seats and an unstable wooden table covered in years of Sharpie, like a bathroom stall. People have written names and quotes and bits of gossip, stuck stickers of bands and political slogans all over it. Somehow, using her magical drunken wiles, Marlene has managed to drag Damien, Lily, James all out into the dance floor, giving Mary an unsubtle wink as she knocks James into Lily. Mary snorts. It isn't until they're the only ones left that Mary realizes there's something wrong with Remus. He sits stiffly, flinching whenever anyone slides in or out of the booth, or when the beat in a song is particularly loud. The club is dark, but not so much that she can't see the exhaustion in his eyes, or the worry in Sirius's. It's odd to see Sirius acting so, there's no other word for it, mothering. He hovers over Remus, barely taking his eyes off him, though when he catches anyone looking, he shoots them a sly grin or a wink, makes some offhanded joke. Eventually, and reluctantly, Sirius gets up to use the loo, at which point Mary downs the rest of her drink and scoots around the booth to take her place beside Remus, since speaking across the table is nearly impossible with the music. Hello, Remus says. His smile is, at best, delicate. Remus, she says, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but you look terrible. A laugh that seems to surprise him falls out of his mouth. Yeah, I know. I was hoping... But then he cuts himself off, shaking his head and looking down at the glass in front of him. Mary stares at him for a moment before deciding to press forward. You can leave, you know. You and Sirius? I won't take it personally, I promise. I'll even make sure James gets back to you in one piece. Remus grimaces, running his finger through the water rings left on the table. He was so excited. Remus's voice has gotten significantly quieter, forcing Mary to bend her head closer to hear. He's never been to a Muggle club before, heard about them in songs, though, in books, in movies. He forgot, but Remus abruptly cuts himself off, growing stiff. Mary doesn't speak this time, instead waiting for Remus to take up the story again. And he does. Eventually. I told him to come without me. Remus sighs. When I started feeling sick, but he wouldn't. Said he'd stay behind. Remus laughs, running a hand over his face. Said he had to kiss me at midnight. He sighs heavily before reaching for his glass and downing the rest of it. Mary waits for a few seconds, making sure Remus is done talking before she starts. So you decided to come even though you're obviously in pain because Sirius wouldn't come without you? More or less. She lets out a breath. Jesus, you two are a fucking toothache, aren't you? Remus looks at her, brow raised in question. Mary smiles. Too sweet? He rolls his eyes. More like dysfunctional. But she dismisses that with a wave of her hand before leaning forward again, careful not to brush against him. Listen, Remus, there will be other nights and other clubs. Has it ever occurred to you that however excited he might have been, being with you matters more to him? His mouth struggles to form the words. I'm worried I'm gonna hold him back. Worried he'll start to resent me. That he already does. If it wasn't for the fact that she was certain it would cause him actual physical harm, Mary would have taken him by the shoulders and shaken him. Resent you for what, Remus? He shrugs, swallowing with difficulty. For all of it. For being me. For being you. He nods and then running a hand through his hair. For being a boy. Other things too, but it's harder for him to accept, and he wouldn't have to if it wasn't for me. He could just be, God, I don't know, normal? Normal, Mary repeats, like it's a dirty word. Remus, you do realize, as gorgeous and lovely as you are, that you did not turn Sirius gay, right? Remus huffs out a laugh. Yeah, I know, just sometimes it feels a bit like I put him in this position, forced him to make these choices, because we were mates first, and he was afraid he was going to lose that, and it's really important to Sirius, this family and all. Friends are really important to him. And so yeah, maybe he would have still been attracted to boys every once in a while, with or without me, but he could have ignored that. Mary opens her mouth to object, but Remus cuts her off. I'm not saying it would have been healthy. I'm just saying he would have had the option to act on it or not. And it's like I took that away from him. Because if he didn't act on it, he was going to lose something else. Another family. So in a way, I forced him to do this thing that maybe he never would have done otherwise. He laughs then, swiping a hand over his face. Sorry, I'm rambling. There's honestly so much to unpack there that Mary isn't at all sure where to start. Look, Sirius is fucked up, she says bluntly, going on before Remus can protest. And that isn't your fault. It's his parents' fault. It's, she waves her hand in the air, society's fault. People suck, generally, and they think a lot of stupid things and then feel the need to force those stupid thoughts on other people. That isn't your fault either. But that kid, she points after Sirius, looks at you like the world starts and stops with you. Looks at you like he's never seen anything so beautiful. Looks at you like he can't believe you're real. Even in the dark, she thinks she can see Remus blush. There are people and things he might grow to resent. But you're never going to be one of them. I promise you. Remus lets out a heavy breath, leaning back in his seat before shaking his head, a rueful smile twisting his mouth. Thanks, he says. Thank you. She nods. No problem. He gives her an apologetic look. Sorry, this is weird, right? Considering It takes her a moment to realize what he's referring to. Considering I used to shag him? She asks, unable to keep the smirk off his face. Remus blushes again. Yeah. Mary only shrugs. Not really, no. Oh. Remus nods, even though he clearly does not understand. That's good. McDonald. They both look up as Sirius comes swaggering back to the table, eyebrow arched. Trying to take my place. Please, as if I have to try. Still, she slides out of the booth, not bothering to sit back down when Sirius has retaken his spot at Remus's side. I think I'm going to go find the others. Do try to break a few public decency laws while I'm away. Sirius laughs out loud while Remus's blush intensifies, causing Mary to leave the table feeling distinctly satisfied with herself. It doesn't take her long to find the others. Marlene with a drink she definitely doesn't need. Damien and Lily apparently having an embarrassing dance move competition. Lily currently performing a very enthusiastic sprinkler, which is quickly followed by her brother's version of the robot. Where's James? Mary has to basically snog Marlene's ear in order to hear her over the music. The other girl shakes her head and then, he said he needed some air, she shouts. Mary nods, sparing on one more look for her brother and Lily before pushing back through the crowd. She tries not to flinch at all the bodies and hands brushing against her, pulling on her. Tries to stop constantly checking over her shoulder like she's going to find someone there, watching her, hunting her. It's hot and loud, and despite the room being large, the crowd sucks up all the space. She doesn't blame James for needing a break. She stumbles out into the cold without her jacket, the wind feeling nice on her sweaty skin, though she has a feeling that's going to change soon. She stands in the middle of the pavement, directionless, until she sees a shaggy-haired boy a block away, sitting with his back pressed to the bar and his head tilted backward toward the sky. You look miserable, she says as she sits down next to him. Fuck, the pavement is cold. He huffs out a laugh that freezes in front of his mouth, drifting off into the night. I'm not. And then, closing his eyes, he says it again. I'm not. Mary isn't sure who he's trying to convince. It's the alcohol, he goes on eventually. Mary gives him a skeptical look. You look miserable, not drunk. The corner of his mouth twitches up in a pathetic imitation of his smile. Yeah, well, as though that's any kind of answer. Mary, quite frankly, doesn't have the patience for this. Regulus Black. His eyes snap open, head turning toward her. Explain that one to me, would you? Mary. She holds up her hand. If you're about to tell me you don't know what I'm talking about, I will be forced to punch you in the face. He lets out another disbelieving laugh, running a hand over his quickly flushed face. It's a few seconds before he speaks. Did he tell you? She arches her brow. You told me. James, bless him, looks genuinely confused. What? I didn't. Sweetheart, she says patronizingly, he practically begged me to help him. James opens and closes his mouth, something helpless in his eyes, before he drops his head back against the wall and looks up. Did you tell him? Yeah. James closes his eyes again. Was he angry? She watches him, the tension in his shoulders, the corners of his mouth. He's nervous, she realizes, afraid that he did something to upset Regulus. Regulus fucking Black. No, she says finally. He wasn't angry. James gives a small nod, still without opening his eyes. Mary waits another minute before pressing on. You really care about him. James's mouth forms another sad smile. I really do. He what has you out here being miserable? James lets out a shaky exhale, the cold starting to bite at Mary's skin. I'm scared for him. And also just, I miss him. Fuck, I miss him all the time. It's this clawing feeling in my chest, like there's some monster in me that never settles unless he's nearby, unless he's touching me, talking to me. Monster sounds about right. James hisses like she's burned him. Don't, Mary. Don't what? She demands, a little more harshly than she intended. She had promised herself she would be gentle with him. I'm not going to listen to you talk shit about him. Oh, am I supposed to have nice things to say about him? He swallows, shaking his head. You don't even know him. No? What about Sirius? Does he know him? Don't. Mary scoffs, looking out at the road and trying to quell the trembling anger under her skin. Has it ever occurred to you that you might be thinking with your dick right now? She says bitingly. James doesn't get louder. If anything, his voice gets quieter and quieter. I love him, Mary. He practically whispers, like that means anything. You were in love with Lily not too long ago, if memory serves. I wasn't. What is that even? He laughs, but it isn't the warm sound it usually is. I don't even know what to say to that, Mary. Just because you think you're in love again doesn't mean, oh, fuck you. He gets up, but doesn't head back inside. Just takes a few steps forward before turning back to her, the moon behind him. It'll be full tomorrow. I don't think I'm in love. I am in love. Oh, so this time you're sure, are you? This time it's the real deal? James grits his teeth. Yes. Why? Mary pushes, getting to her feet too. Because it's reciprocated? Is that the only difference, James? He sucks your cock and you suck his, so you think that it's love? Fuck off. But she isn't done. A bit because she's angry. A bit because she's scared. Scared for him. Scared of losing him. Scared of hurting him. What if Lily had wanted you, huh? Do you think you'd still have ended up doing whatever the hell it is you're doing with Regulus Black? That pulls him up short. Indignation and shock battling it out across his face. What? What are you even talking about? What if Lily had wanted you back? She asks again, voice lower. This is it. This is her ace. Her card to play, to win the game, to keep James safe. Because maybe, if he has Lily, it won't hurt so bad to lose Regulus. Because maybe, if he never stopped loving her, that means that Mary was right to trust him. That he is the person she's always believed him to be. Because maybe she can fix this. This one thing. Her head is fucked, her future uncertain, but this one thing she can put right. Because Lily and James were always meant to be, weren't they? Isn't that the world they'd all been living in? Before Death Eaters and Dark Lords and blood purity? I don't know. And it doesn't matter. He runs his hand through his hair, his teeth starting to chatter. Mary had almost forgotten about the cold. Doesn't it? He looks at her almost like he's afraid. What the fuck are you doing, Mary? What kind of game is this? Are you drunk? She wants you, James. He instantly takes a step back, eyes wide. Stop it. She does, though. She wants you, too. You don't have to do this. This? You can't love Regulus. You can't. She can hear the desperation in her voice, but she's not sure that James can. I can't? He almost growls. Jesus, Mary, I do. I love him. I'd fucking die for him. But would he die for you? She cuts him off. Huh? Would he die for you? Because I bet you he wouldn't. I bet he'd sell you out the first chance he got. She sees it. Right there, in the whites of his eyes, the flicker of doubt, even while he fights to snuff it out. You have no idea. I have some idea of what Regulus Black is capable of, actually. It can't be more than a few seconds that they stand there in silence, the weight of Mary's words dragging them down. It feels longer, though. Hours, days, years. She watches the confusion and fear and horror all flickering across his face. What? He has to stop, the word coming out choked. What do you mean? Mary holds his gaze, even when it hurts. I lied. You lied? He repeats, voice hollow. James has a right to know what he's doing, who he's with, because if he does, If he did, he would never choose Regulus. He couldn't. Not James. James of all people. He was there. James takes another step back. No, that's not possible. He was with me. The whole night? She asks. Relentless, he has to face this. Surely it's only fair. James has gone pale, almost frighteningly so. Don't do this, Mary. Don't do this just because you don't like him, because you want me to walk him away. Don't do this. I'm just telling you the truth. James shakes his head. No, because you told me what happened. You told me what happened to you. His words are falling out of his mouth, tripping over one another. And Reg would never let that happen, would never stand by and just let them. He wouldn't. 10. Funny, it reminds her a bit of Regulus, that night in the Quidditch stands, his vehement denial that she had been raped because he had stopped it. He had stopped them. 9, 8. He was there, she says again. He brought me to the infirmary, and he tried to erase my memories. 7, 6. James is still shaking his head, still walking backwards away from her. He's halfway to the street at this point. Mary is vaguely aware that people have started counting around them, voices echoing in the background. 5. Stop. 4, 3. You don't love him, James, she says confidently. You don't. Not really. You can't. Not someone like that. Someone who would do something like that. You don't love him like you love Lily. 2. I don't want Lily. 1. Oh. Both of them swivel around as cheers and fireworks and crashing bottles erupt around them. Just a few paces away, Lily stands by the door, looking slightly shell-shocked. She shakes her head. I was supposed to find you for the countdown. She swallows, waving at the air. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. Yeah? She nods to herself. Yeah, okay. And with that, she stumbles back inside. Both James and Mary frozen in place. Fuck, James hisses under his breath, running his hand over his face. Yeah, Mary agrees, fairly certain that Lily won't be forgiving her for this anytime soon. Don't, James growls. Don't talk to me right now. Just don't. He starts moving toward the door, leaving Mary feeling equal parts guilty and angry. She chooses to focus on the latter. Easier that way. You can be mad at me all you want, she shouts after him. It doesn't change what I said. Doesn't change that it's true. James doesn't stop. Doesn't look back. Storming inside to do God knows what. There'll be no talking to Lily. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. Mary stumbles backward until she hits the wall behind her, sliding back down into the ground. She needs to get a grip. Her head is buzzing with hands and faces and laughs that cut like blades. She sees Mulciber, sees Snape, sees Regulus. She still can't find Barty's face. Like her brain won't let her get that far, won't let her remember that much. His touch, his weight, his smell. She remembers all of that, but she can't see his face. Probably thanks to Regulus fucking Black. He went in her fucking head. He took the truth from her, took moments of her life, and now her word means nothing. Her truth means nothing. Fuck him. Fuck him for thinking he had the goddamn right, for thinking one violation was worse than the other. Fuck her stupid head for not being strong enough to keep him out, to keep any of them out. Her face is in her hands, nails digging into her skull, breaths coming in short little gasps. She should stop thinking about this. She knows that, but the world around her is all noise, all shadows and voices she doesn't recognize, which is what it feels like in her head most of the time these days. She just keeps seeing them, keeps feeling their hands, hearing their laughs. They fucking enjoyed it, what they did to her. They fucking enjoyed every goddamn minute of it. Mary. She's barely able to hear her name over the rest of it. Hey, are you okay? Mary. Someone is sitting next to her. Someone has their arm around her shoulders, pulling her into their chest. Someone who smells like rooftops and home-cooked meals. Damien. She doesn't realize until his arms wrap around her that she's crying. Sobbing, more accurately. She hasn't cried in ages. Didn't when she woke up in the infirmary with a splitting fucking headache and no idea where she was. Or when the nightmares started. When she pieced together what actually happened to her. So she has absolutely no idea why she's crying now. Why she can't stop. Shh, Damien says, rubbing soothing circles into her back. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. For some reason, that just makes her cry harder. Once she's able to stop long enough to speak, she'll blame it on the alcohol. Damien will believe her. Or at least he'll pretend to. And soon enough, she'll be back at school and won't have to see the pity in his eyes every time he looks at her. What is it, Mary? What's happened? I know this isn't about some boy. I don't even know why I said that. I was just trying to get you to talk to me. I just want you to talk to me. Let me help. What's wrong? What happened? And of course, she can't tell him. She can't really tell anyone. The only person she did tell was James, and it turns out he's in love with one of the people who put her here, so that shows how bloody good her judgment is. Fuck James, too. God, he's so good at acting like the nice guy, but he's just like the rest of them. Another privileged goddamn pureblood who has no idea what it's like, what this feels like. Mary, her brother says softly, and she knows she has to speak, even though it feels impossible in that moment. Knows she has to tell him something. Knows it has to be true. I'm scared. She manages to sob into his shirt. Fuck, I'm so goddamn scared all the time. I can't. She sounds pathetic. And she recognizes that. Definitely planning to blame it on the alcohol. Scared of what? And how can she even begin to explain? How can she articulate all the things crowding her chest and crushing her lungs and keeping her up at night? She shakes her head against his chest. Magic. For some reason, that's the word that crawls out of her mouth. It's the thing that's built this wall between her and her family. The thing that let a group of boys turn her body into something she can't trust. The thing that's painted a target on her back. The thing that at 11 years old made her feel invincible. I'm scared of magic. Chapter endnotes. Hey, hi, hello. I don't know, was this too slow? Did you like it? Kind of think I really like it, but I always go back and forth. This chapter is fully inspired by my belief that New Year's Eve is the messiest night of the year. Thank you all so much for your lovely comments and kudos. I appreciate them so much. They give me all the warm and fuzzies. See you next time.